Hey guys, let's have a quick chat on the trans issue right now. The most important part, I think, is to realize that the trans people are not the problem. That you, as a critic of what the trans movement is doing, you are not the problem either. There is one group of people that are the problem, and they're feasting on these two sides fighting each other. People like me who understand biology, trained in hard sciences. Even if you're not trained in hard sciences, there's clear differences between men and women biologically. So, and then there's the trans movement people who are viciously fighting anyone who disagrees with them. So, like these two groups, we're just constantly battling each other in the media and elsewhere. And what that does, it deflects from where the real problem was, which is in this thing called psychiatry or psychology. They are the problem. In a nutshell, they can't help these people to deal with their mental health problems. So what they basically threw up their hands and said, okay, everybody just pretend that you're a girl or you're a boy, and that's it. You won't kill yourself, okay? If everybody pretends you're a girl or a boy, that's it, that's fine. Everybody lives. Great, let's just do that. What's happening is that there's a big, almost a confidence or a con game involved with psychology and psychiatry, particularly with psychiatry. Psychology is a little more gray, there's value in it. Psychiatry is a con game, like 100% just a complete con. Listen, what's going on is that these guys are getting trained in biological science. They get rudimentary basic medical education, and then they switch into something to specializations. A normal doctor would go into pharmacology or neurology perhaps, or some other, there's all these tiny little fields they can go into. But in all those fields, there's actual experimental results. You can do experiments, you can do studies, and you get actual real verifiable empirical data. With the psychiatrists, there is no empirical data. They do not get data the way all the other sciences get and all the other doctors use it. They do not use the data. They don't even get data properly, and the data they do have, they misuse. So what am I talking about? A confidence game? What they're doing is they're saying this: listen, we're smart enough to understand this modern day medical system. We're educated, so we know better than you or other people. Okay, but the con game is that they're saying that they know how the mind works or the brain works when they clearly do not. Let's go to the science part that they're failing at. In science or in chemistry, let's say we study, a chemical reaction. We weigh the reagents, the things that went in, and the stuff that come out. We can't really, unless we lie on the forms we fill out or the data we collect, we can't fake it, right? We measure that amount. That's the amount. It goes down. That's it. End of story. There's no dispute. The machine says this. I write this. That's the weight. There's another form of study, like say drug study. They want to test the effects of a drug. We use double-blind studies. Double-blind studies are where, like, the subject, the person who's being studied, and the experimenter, neither of them knows who has the real drug or who has a fake drug. They want to give some people a fake drug or a placebo to see, like, if this actual drug works. You got to see if people have the same experience or same effects on a placebo as they do on a supposed, therapeutic drug. Then there's obviously problems with that therapeutic drug because it's bogus, right? If people without taking the drug have the same effects as people taking the drug, that drug is useless. So those are fantastic ways of finding out. Double blind, the experimenter, the people, no one knows what's going on until you tabulate it and you see what's going on. In psychiatry and psychology, they have an explicit ban on double-blind studies. Not allowed to do it with humans. So there's no empirical data in psychiatry. It's either on an animal study who has different types of minds than we do, or it's opinion, statistical based. And that's what's happening. Psychiatry isn't about the science of the mind, they're about social conformity. Now, nothing says that more than the trans issue. You know, it's everything wrong with it is right there. They don't know how the human mind works, which I do. If you go to functionsofnature.wordpress.com, you'll see that I describe it. Like, I went looking for the origin of the mind in nature. I wasn't looking, figure out the universe, or that was sort of in there. I just wanted to find out as a scientist, what is the origin? Where did the mind originate in nature? So I went looking for it. I found it, and pretty much it's just like this. Our minds are the result of our ability to sense and manipulate the time part of our environment. There are two things that we seem to know a lot about, but we can't define. One, time, right? Oh, I was there 10 minutes ago, I'm going to be there an hour. And two, consciousness. What is consciousness? Your conscious mind. There's all these ideas and thoughts about it, but the truth is, the baseline truth is that your mind is an engine to manipulate and sense time. When you're remembering something, you go back in time in that moment and come forward. That's why you have feelings of the past. And the same thing with time. Time is something you feel. You can sort of get images in your mind, but really it's more of a sense, more like sound. Anyways, I'll go over this as the years go by. But yeah, so like these guys, they have no idea how the mind works. They don't see it as a biological thing entirely. Some of them think, some of them are religious, some aren't. It's just it's a horrible thing. There is no biology behind psychiatry. It's a con game. They're pretending they have biology by saying, look, I've managed to study this basic medical stuff, so therefore my personal opinions are valid for controlling other human beings. It's just their mental capabilities. It's just crazy. I mean, the crucial thing about the trans issue is this. One, they're claiming their minds are telling them that their body is not the right body for them. Their body is their brain. Their brain is part of their body. So if they're saying their body is wrong, well, their brain is wrong, right? I mean, they are severely mentally ill or severely confused. They've had a bad life, maybe. They have bad upbringing. They have people that are like, attacking them if they're more feminine or they're more masculine. That is considered normal. And so, now we got this trend to push them into this, crazy children, puberty blockers and all this stuff, sterilizing children prior to becoming adults. It's really, we've totally lost the plot. But this whole thing, wanting to sterilize children, forcing other people to pretend somebody who's using drugs and surgery to change how their secondary sexual characteristics look and feel, maybe, versus actually being that gender, like being that sex. And nothing really, this whole issue just shows you how it's a house of cards that has no basis in reality. If you can say a person who is so severely mentally ill that their brain, which is part of their body, is telling them that they're in the wrong body, I mean, that you can't just say, okay, well, your brain is working properly then. I mean, it's obviously not working properly if the same brain that gives you this thought is now telling you that you have the wrong body. It's just stupidity, like on stupidity. And the stupidity is the psychiatrists who have no clue as how reality is or how the mind works. Yeah, we're in a difficult situation here because we've relied on this medical community for so many years, for so many decades, and they've had so many initial successes that we're like, oh yeah, that's reasonable. But now, as this stack of cards have grown up, psychiatry has been crumbled. As we can see from this mass insanity, mass panic of this past year, medical authorities are just as greedy, stupid, and selfish as everybody else. You know, like there's nothing special about you if you have a medical degree. You're just the same human. You're shitting, fucking, pissing, and eating. You are not a god. You should not be, controlling other people's lives. If psychiatry cannot help these poor trans people get past their mental health problem, it's not on the rest of us in society to pretend that there's something they're not. All right? And going in law to deny us our conscience rights, our freedom of thought, freedom of religion. I mean, how is that in any way, shape, or form the practice of psychiatry, or any way, shape, or form the practice of medicine of the mind? It is the opposite. It is clear social engineering. It's the only thing these idiot psychiatrists know how to do. I mean, a couple of years ago or whatever it was when they said, just being male is toxic, that should have been the clue that these guys have completely failed and they're not a science anymore. Anyways, it's just, it's a crazy, crazy world we're in right now. Years ago, I told the media in Canada, listen, you got to get me in front of the public or the world's going to go to shit. Like, bad things are going to happen. And they didn't. And now the world is in fucking horrible shit because they didn't want it. They just didn't want to report me and my work. And now you and everyone else in the world is suffering, including me.